All right, get this, Henry Cavill. Piloting a giant robot lion. Need I say more?
I think that's a pretty compelling hook.
Right. It's like someone reached into my childhood dreams and said, let's make this happen. But seriously, this whole live-action Voltron movie has me geeking out, and I know you're just as eager to unpack it all.
Definitely. It's not every day you get news like this, especially with a property as iconic as Voltron.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. Why this casting is such a big deal, what we know so far about the movie itself, and why you should absolutely care about giant robots battling it out in space again.
It's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out.
For sure. Now, I know you already live and breathe this stuff, but for anyone who might need a quick refresher, Voltron is all about, well, 5 young pilots, each with their own awesome robotic lion who combine to form this mega robot defender of the universe.
Oh, we can't forget the 80s context. Voltron, along with shows like Transformers and Robotech, tapped into a real hunger for that blend of cool tech, action-packed battles, and stories about unlikely heroes coming together.
It's that classic underdog story, but with a sci-fi twist.
Exactly. And what's interesting about Voltron specifically is that it wasn't just one show. It was actually a combination of 2 different Japanese anime series. They took these separate stories, one with lions, the other with vehicles, and wove them together to create the Voltron we know today.
That's right. They even went as far as creating family connections between characters to make the whole thing feel cohesive. It just goes to show how stories can be adapted and reimagined across cultures, and how sometimes those mashups become iconic in their own right.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about why this is making headlines. Casting Henry Cavill is a power move.
Oh, absolutely. The man is basically a walking, talking guarantee of action-packed sci-fi fantasy success. But here's the thing. None of the articles we dug into actually reveal who he's playing.
And that's deliberate. This isn't just about announcing a role. It's about creating a puzzle, sparking those conversations and fan theories.
They want us on the edge of our seats, refreshing Twitter every 5 seconds for more info.
Precisely. And it's even more effective when you consider Cavill's recent track record. You've got the whole will he won't he Superman situation, which ultimately fizzled out, leaving fans wanting more. Then there's the Warhammer 40,000 series he signed on for, also with Amazon. All of this positions him as a major player in the sci-fi and fantasy world, which makes his involvement with Voltron even more intriguing.
It's like they're saying, we got your guy, but you'll have to wait and see how we're using him. And you know what? It's working. Everyone's talking about it.
It's a brilliant marketing strategy. Speaking of strategy, we have to talk about Amazon's involvement. This isn't just some passion project. It's Amazon MGM Studios, which means they're bringing serious resources and ambition to the table.
Right. This isn't just about making a single Voltron movie. It's about the potential for a whole franchise.
And that's crucial in today's streaming landscape. Think about what Disney's achieved with Marvel and Star Wars. These aren't just movie franchises anymore. They're sprawling universes spanning movies, TV shows, merchandise, theme parks, the works. It seems Amazon is hoping to replicate that success with Voltron.
So we could be looking at a whole new era for Voltron.
Potentially. It's a smart move on their part. They're tapping into that built-in fan base, that nostalgia factor, but they're also trying to introduce it to a whole new generation.
Which is something these studios become masters at. And let's be honest, Voltron has that franchise potential written all over it. It's got that same blend of action, adventure, and humor that made those 80s properties so successful.
Yeah, it's a formula that works. Compelling characters, a rich mythology, and those classic themes of good versus evil, all wrapped up in a visually spectacular package.
And let's not forget those giant robots. You can't underestimate the appeal of giant robots battling it out in space.
It's a timeless concept for a reason. But I think what elevates Voltron is that it's not just about, mindless action, you know? At its core, it's a story about teamwork, about overcoming differences to achieve a common goal.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Each pilot had their own unique skills and personality, but they had to learn to work together to form Voltron and defeat those robeasts. It's a powerful message, and one that still resonates today.
Absolutely. In a world that often feels divided, stories that champion cooperation and unity have a particular power. They remind us that we're stronger together than we are apart.
And let's not forget the sheer fun factor. I mean, who didn't spend their childhoods running around the playground pretending to be a Voltron pilot?
I have to confess, I might have had a toy lion or two.
Voltron had it all. Action figures, lunch boxes, bed sheets, you name it, they slapped a Voltron logo on it. And let's be real, if this new movie takes off, we can expect to see a whole new wave of merchandise flooding the market.
It's inevitable. And smart business. But what's interesting is that it's not just about the financial gains. These reboots and revivals also tap into something deeper, that sense of nostalgia, of shared cultural experiences.
Totally. It's like a collective trip down memory lane. And for those who missed out the first time around, it's a chance to experience the magic anew.
It's a win-win for studios and audiences. But let's get back to the news that started this whole conversation, Henry Cavill's mysterious role.
Right. It's the question on everyone's mind. Who is he playing?
The speculation is running wild online. Some think he'd be a perfect fit for Keith, the headstrong leader of the pilots.
I've also seen some compelling arguments for him as Sven, the cool and collected pilot of the Blue Lion.
It's all just guesswork at this point, but that's part of the fun, isn't it? The filmmakers have given us just enough information to pique our curiosity, but not enough to satisfy it.
And they're probably loving every minute of it. This kind of buzz is priceless.
It certainly builds anticipation. But while we're on the subject of speculation, there's another interesting detail from the articles you shared. The director, Rawson Marshall Thurber, is an interesting choice.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, we can't forget about the director. He's known for action comedies like Red Notice and Central Intelligence. So we know he can handle big action sequences and inject some humor, but a Voltron movie, that feels like a bit of a leap.
It does on the surface, but I think there's a method to their madness. Remember, Voltron wasn't just about epic battles. It also had a lot of heart. Those moments of camaraderie between the pilots, the banter, the rivalries, those are all ripe for some comedic exploration.
You're right. And those moments of levity were often just as important as the action sequences. They gave the characters depth and made them relatable.
Precisely. And that's where Thurber's strength lies. He can deliver both the spectacle and the heart, which is a delicate balance to strike.
It sounds like he might be the perfect fit after all.
Only time will tell. But it's certainly an intriguing choice. And let's not forget, he has a proven track record of working with big-name stars, which is crucial for a project of this scale.
Hey, speaking of big-name stars, we still have that mystery co-star to contend with, Daniel Quintoya. The articles mentioned him, but played it incredibly coy about his actual role.
It's almost as if they're daring us to speculate.
Which, of course, we will. What do you think? Villain, ally, long-lost brother, the possibilities are endless.
This is where I'd love to hear what our listeners think. What role do you envision Daniel Quintoya playing in this Voltron adaptation? Let us know on social media because we're dying to hear your theories.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We know Voltron's making a comeback. It's got a big-name director and a mysterious cast, and Amazon seems to be betting big on its potential. But here's something I found particularly interesting. A few of those articles mention that filming is set to begin soon.
Which, in Hollywood terms, could mean anything.
Right.
But if we're being optimistic, it could mean a 2026 release. More likely 2027, given the scale of this project.
Exactly. And that's what I kind of wanted to touch on. A lot can happen between now and then, especially when you consider Henry Cavill's career trajectory.
Oh, absolutely.
The man does not slow down.
He's a hot commodity right now with the potential to be tied up with multiple projects at once.
Right. We've got that Warhammer series in development, which no small undertaking. And knowing how these things work, there could be other projects popping up left and right.
It's certainly a possibility. And that got me thinking, how might those other projects, whatever they may be, influence Cavill's approach to Voltron?
That's such a good point. Could you imagine if he ends up taking on another huge action role that bleeds into his performance as, and this is pure speculation, a grizzled Voltron pilot? Or maybe he does a super quirky indie comedy that adds a whole new layer to his comedic timing.
It's fascinating to consider, and it speaks to the fact that these projects don't exist in a vacuum. They're all part of a larger conversation, a tapestry of influences and experiences that shape the final product.
It's like that saying, art imitates life.
Yeah.
Life imitates art. Or in this case, one massive sci-fi franchise might subtly influence another.
It happens all the time, and I think that's what makes these deep dives so compelling. It's not just about reporting the news, it's about exploring those connections, those ripple effects, and considering the bigger picture.
Exactly. So for you listening, here's something to ponder. What other projects could Henry Cavill take on in the next year or two that might, in some small way, influence his Voltron role? Drop us a line on social media. We'd love to hear your theories.
It's all connected, and that's what makes this industry so fascinating.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those connections. This has been a Voltron-sized deep dive, packed with intrigue, speculation, and maybe even a few predictions about the future of giant robot entertainment.
Until next time, remember to stay curious.
And keep exploring.